So let me get right into the why storytelling is important. In addition to the one story I told you, I want to tell you the two times in my career that I've learned this lesson the hard way. And I've had the good fortune over the last 18 years of presenting to the CEO of the company probably 5 or 6 times. And the first time I did, I'll never forget, because I learned a tough lesson about how not to present to the CEO, and I wanted you to benefit from that experience. And it happened downtown. It was over 10 years ago. It was downtown in the GO on the 11th floor of the Central Building, right? And they had just remodeled that floor, if you'll remember, about a decade ago, and they put in this round room with a round table, very King Arthur of the round table-ish, right? And there's this table just like that right in the middle of the room, and the entire room is perfectly round, centered on this table, and even the doors are curved to like fit with the motif of this round room. Well, anyway, the CEO and the top probably 15 executives of the company meet in that room at least once a week. It's the executive GLC, and I was the first item on the agenda for one of their meetings. So I got there 30 minutes early, you know, and I had my computer all set up wherever I had to plug it in, and made sure all the video and sound and everything worked right, because, you know, it's my first time to present to the CEO and I want it all to go well. And so about the time for the meeting to start, the executives start filing into the room and taking up chairs around the table. And of course, there's just one big screen where the presentation is being projected, unlike in this room where you've got 2 or 3 options. There's only one, even though it was a round room. And A.G. Lafley was the CEO at the time, and he was one of the last ones to come in, and came in and started walking around the table and patting everybody on the back and saying hello, because that's just the kind of guy he is. And despite the fact that there were 2 or 3 chairs left around the table, I kid you not, he walked all the way around the table, and he chose the chair that was right here. And I thought, no, that's not good, right? He's going to spend his whole time with his neck craned around backwards, and he's going to hurt his neck, and he's not going to be in a good mood, and therefore he's not going to, agree to my recommendation. But I'm not going to tell the boss where to sit, right? So I start into my presentation. Anyway, so I'm about 5 minutes into the presentation, and I've got 20 minutes on the agenda. I'm 5 minutes in, and things are going pretty well, but then I realize he hasn't turned around at all to look at my slides. But, I'm not going to tell the boss what to do, so I plow ahead. But I started, being worried more about him understanding and less about his neck, right? I want him to understand my recommendation before he can agree to it. But I move on. Well, now I'm 10 minutes in, halfway through with my allotted time, and I realize this guy has still not turned around once to look at my slides. And now I stopped being worried about his neck, and I stopped being worried about him understanding, and I started getting kind of mad. Like, I spent 3 weeks working on this thing. The least you could do is just look at it once, Nope, 20 minutes up, 20 minutes down. He never once looked at my slides. And so I walk out of the room. I'm kind of dejected, and I'm trying to, debrief in my head. What did I do wrong? Was I boring? Was he just not interested in my topic? Was he thinking about some multi-billion-dollar decision that was way more important than whatever it is that I was presenting? And I concluded that none of those things were true, that he was very engaged in my presentation. In fact, he was looking me right in the eyes the whole time, and he's the only person in the room that asked more than one question at the end. And he did agree to my recommendation. So actually, it went really well. It just felt terrible because he never looked at my slides, and I felt bad about that. And then it occurred to me. The reason he didn't look at my slides was because he knew something that I didn't until that moment. And it's this. If there's anything important that I've got to say, I'm going to say it. It's going to come out of my mouth. He knew that those slides were there more for my benefit than for his benefit. And I'm convinced, actually, that he chose that chair on purpose so that he would have an excuse not to look at the slides and instead look at me and talk to me and have a conversation with me. Imagine what the CEO's daily life must be like. He must, go through hundreds of emails a day and analyst reports and financial reports and share reports and charts and graphs. And I'm convinced he was looking at that 1 hour block of time with that executive GLC as a break from that tedium and as an opportunity to engage other adults in some dialogue, to talk to somebody from the front lines of the business, far removed from his 11th floor office, to tell him how it's going on the business and ask him some questions and get his advice on what to do next. In short, what my job during that 20 minutes was to tell him a story and let him participate in it. And I didn't realize it until then. So now I've learned that lesson, and my presentations to senior management are very different now. I sometimes still use slides, and you'll see some of them here, but they're very different. might be a picture on it with a bullet point to remind me what story to tell next, but it's not, you know, a list of, you know, thousands of bullet points, and I'm not going to read all of them to him and all that kind of stuff. So that's when I first learned this lesson. I learned it again a few years later when I went down to the Walmart team.